and welcome to this session on measuring influencer marketing, a session we've chosen to call Illuminating the Intangible, assessing the true impact of influencer marketing within your marketing mix. I'm one of two people who will present this for you today. My name is Elias Oloy. I'm an insight consultant at Nepa, a global marketing research company based out of Stockholm, Sweden, and I'm joined by Louise.
Hello, everyone. My name is Louise Rimbeck, and I work as Insights Lead at Cure Media, which was founded in 2014 and is one of the leading influencer marketing agencies in Northern Europe. So let's start. Just a few years ago, we at Cure Media, together with the influencer industry in general, I would say, relied heavily on so-called vanity metrics, such as impressions, likes, engagement, etc. And on the surface, these metrics may look good, but we felt that they didn't always capture the full picture or the true impact of influencer marketing. And at the same time, we all know that the customer journey today is anything but simple. It's rarely a straight line from awareness to purchase, since consumers tend to move across platforms, get inspired at different touch points, and make decisions over time. Therefore, we felt that last-click attribution did not give us the true picture either. So we asked ourselves, how can we better evaluate the impact of influencer marketing? We decided to contact Nepa, and the solution we came up with is a method that captures the true impact of influencer marketing, shows its impact in the marketing funnel, and is comparable to how other media are measured. And I will hand over to Elias again, who will tell you a bit more how this is done in practice.
So let's get into how we do measure this, how the method looks. So as Louise said, one of the primary objectives when we designed this method was to keep it similar to how we would measure other campaigns. And therefore, the method also closely resembles a more standard campaign evaluation we usually do. However, what does set it aside is the division of the sample into two distinct groups. One group that we call followers, who are the people who follow at least one of the influencers used in the campaign, and non-followers, and that's people following none of the influencers that was used in the campaign. So this split into two segments is then followed by those standard campaign measurement questions, such as observations, sender recall, clarity, and liking. We also measure a few influencer KPIs that follow more closely how well they perform and how well suited they are to market our product and our brand. But I'll get back to those specific KPIs at a later stage here. What this approach enables us to do is that we're able to compare the group of followers to those of the non-followers and look at what we like to call the lift value, a hopefully positive effect from using influencers in your marketing, and to see that enhanced result among the follower group. And that enhanced result comes from the influencer, the relationship that the followers have with the influencer. And we'll look at how this has looked in the past in the end of this session when Louise will show you a case study. But before getting into that, I'd like to explain why you should integrate influencers into your marketing mix to begin with. Firstly, and maybe most obvious, is the need to adjust your marketing to new media habits among a younger generation of Gen Z millennials. You want to market towards them, and you'll find them using influencers. But I also want to point out a few other pros that you get from using influencers in your marketing, starting with the possibility to sort of handpick who you want to market towards. You're able to select maybe a niche or even a new target group you wouldn't usually market towards by using influencers in your marketing. You might even approach a new target group to try to reposition your brand. But I'll, again, get back to that when we discuss what kind of specific influencer KPIs we measure. Another positive you get from using influencers is an authenticity that comes from marketing through a person, because as you know, influencers, people, their audience, their followers, they're also people, and people in general, they trust other people to a higher extent than they trust brands, marketeers. So you'll get that authenticity from using influencers. It's also quite easy to make the campaign actionable, and that might be promoting a specific product, having a specific offer that you want to showcase. You also have to remember that when you use an influencer in your marketing, you're also getting access to that network, and you're able to, in an actionable way, redirect them into maybe your social media channels or your web page, where you can create an even longer standing impression on the server of the campaign. The last thing I want to point out is the possibility of increasing the product context when displaying the product or your brand in the campaign. You're able to showcase a product in a real life situation, and that helps with message clarity. It helps with credibility in what you're trying to promote. And this authenticity and this credibility and message clarity that you get with influencers, that is what creates that positive effect we discussed earlier, and which Louise will show some examples of. And because of the aim of getting that positive enhanced result by using influencers, that's also something we want to measure and make sure that the influencers deliver on. So we, as I said earlier, measure a few here specific KPIs to determine if an influencer is performing well and if they're a good fit to market our product. So starting with that credibility, as I said, very important that the influencer in themselves are credible. They might have a huge following, they might be liked, but if they're not credible, you won't get that trust that we want to see when we market through a person. And if we don't see that trust, then the positive effects of using the influencer is lost at a very early stage. Closely related to that is the liking of the influencer. Sure, an influencer could be credible, but if they're not liked, you won't see as high positive effect and positive difference between those groups, the followers and the non-followers. I keep coming back to the credibility, but that's one of the pillars really of influencer marketing, and we also therefore want to measure the credibility of the campaign message. Even a credible influencer might not be able to maybe promote a product they wouldn't usually promote in a credible way, or just in general weren't able to deliver a credible message in this instance. So if we maybe want to improve the campaign from one time to another, and we see that an influencer is very credible in themselves, they're very liked, but they weren't able to deliver a credible message, that might be something you take with you from the first time to the second time, that you approach this influencer, want to keep working with them because they have that credibility, but you also want to give them directions on how they could make the message more credible. The last thing we measure is the match between the influencer brand and the brand being marketed. And why we do this is because what happens when you market through an influencer is that the followers or the observers of the campaign, they transfer the image they have of the influencer onto your brand. And if that match is strong between the influencer brand and the product brand, then we see a very strong effect on branding. You confirm that the position of your brand by using influencers that match your brand. And we really want to stress that, sure, influencers are a great way to drive sales, but it's also a very very good brand, a way to build your brand, and a great tool to build your brand. And I said earlier that you might want to market towards a new target group to try to reposition your brand. And that's definitely possible too, considering that, as I said, the influencers are a great tool to build your brand. But the effects are even stronger if there's a strong match between the influencer brand and the marketed brand to begin with. I'll now, or not yet, but I'll soon hand over to Lise. But I just want to end this off by saying that obviously we want to see high scores on these key KPIs to see those positive influencer campaign effects that Louise will showcase right after this. And when we see those positive influencer campaign effects, that's when we'll also see or have a higher chance of getting those positive effects you want for both your brand and the offer you have when using the influencers and perform this campaign. And now I'll hand over to Lise to show a few examples of how this could look then.
Yes, thank you very much. So we'll show you results from a campaign we ran for one of the leading pharmacies in the Nordics last summer. And the campaign aimed to promote essential products for your summer vacation. And here we can see a few examples of the influencers that we worked with. And just to give you a quick glimpse, this is an example of what the results can look like. In this chart, the green bars represent the level of campaign liking among followers versus non-followers. And what we can clearly see here is that the campaign is more well received by followers, with a positive uplift of 26 percentage points compared to non-followers. And while that might seem obvious, maybe at first glance, this data actually highlights the crucial role influencers play in delivering campaigns to their own audiences. And followers, as we know, recognize and relate to the influencers they follow. And more importantly, they build a sense of trust with them over time, which in turn enhances their overall perception of the campaign. And in contrast, non-followers are more likely to view the campaign as just another generic advertisement, since they don't identify with the messenger in the same. When we take a step back and look at the entire marketing funnel from initial observation to message clarity, liking, and finally intention to buy, it becomes even more evident what a strong impact influencers actually have, especially in the middle part of the funnel. And as we can see here, influencers do play a key role in driving both message clarity and positive perception in terms of actual levels. However, what really stands out are the conversion rates from observation to message clarity and from clarity to liking, where we see exceptionally high results with over 90% among followers, compared to non-followers and the Nepa benchmark. And thanks to the consistently strong performance throughout the funnel, we also see a promising outcome with 1 in 5 people saying they intend to purchase the products among followers, 21% as we can see here. And last but certainly not least, we also ask about actual purchase behavior in the studies that we do. This helps solve the problem with last click attribution I mentioned at the beginning, since we do see that many people tend to shop in physical stores still and not just online. And for this specific campaign, we see an uplift of 28 percentage points in actual purchase among followers compared to non-followers. And this is a clear indication that the campaign successfully drove not just buying intention, but actually real buying behavior. So with that said, I will hand over to Elias once again, who will wrap things up.
So just to summarize really, what we want you to leave this session with is that you really want to use influencers in your marketing. You want to integrate it in the mix you have with other media, and that will help you create a strong impact, especially in that middle part of the marketing funnel, which Louise just showed, but also reach out to that younger generation of Gen Z and millennials. We want you to get that full understanding, not only look at those vanity metrics, but also look at comparable data to how you would look at other media being marketed. And lastly, well, as I said, make it comparable, get that full understanding. Don't stop at the vanity metrics. That's the key takeaways from this session. thank you for your time.
Thank you.